She said, "It's not my fault I'm so flirty. It's just my personality." I replied, "I wouldn't want you to change who you are." She discovered the consequence of her personality when I used it as the sole reason for invoking the infidelity clause in our prenup. Before I built my software company, I watched my father lose his. He didn't lose it to a bad market or a poor investment. He lost it in a divorce. My mother, his high school sweetheart, had an affair and left him. In the ensuing legal battle, she and her lawyer used the leverage of their long marriage to claim half of the business he had spent 30 years of his life building from scratch. The fight broke him, not financially but spiritually. He lost his fire. He sold the remnants of his company and retired a bitter, quiet man. I learned a brutal lesson from his wreckage. Love is an emotional agreement, but marriage is a legal and financial contract, and you should never sign a contract without reading the fine print. So when I proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years, Lauren, the conversation about a prenuptial agreement was not a suggestion, it was a non-negotiable condition. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. She was beautiful, charming, and the life of every party. But my company, the one I had built for my college dorm room with 2 friends and a mountain of instant noodles, was my life's work. It was my legacy, and I was not going to let it be a casualty of a failed relationship. We sat in the polished conference room of my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Miss Albright. She had drafted a simple, fair prenup. It protected my premarital assets, namely, my ownership stake in my company and my personal investment portfolio. Everything we earned and built together after the marriage would be considered shared property. It was a document designed to protect the past and encourage a shared future. Lauren read through the document, a slight, amused smile on her face. She didn't seem angry. She seemed dismissive. "This is all very dramatic, Mark," she said, waving a perfectly manicured hand at the papers. "But fine, if it makes you feel secure, I'll sign it." "There's one more thing," Ms. Albright said, her voice neutral. "Mark has requested the inclusion of a lifestyle clause, specifically an infidelity clause." Lauren's smile faltered. "An infidelity clause? What, you think I'm going to cheat on you?" "I don't think you will," I said calmly. "But this is about creating a clear, binding agreement that defines the terms of our partnership. And fidelity is the most important term of all." Ms. Albright slid a separate page across the table. "As per Mark's instructions, the clause is comprehensive. It states that in the event of a divorce resulting from a material breach of fidelity by either party, the breaching party forfeits any and all claims to spousal support and any assets acquired during the marriage." It was a harsh clause. It was a deal-breaker clause. It was my line in the sand. Lauren read it, and her amusement turned to a kind of playful indignation. "Well, what exactly do you consider infidelity?" she asked, a flirtatious glint in her eye. "You know how I am, Mark. I'm a friendly person. I'm a flirt. It's just my personality. Are you going to divorce me if I laugh at another man's joke?" And there it was. Her defense. Her pre-packaged excuse for a lifetime of questionable behavior. I had seen her personality in action at parties, the lingering touches on other men's arms, the whispered, head-thrown-back laughter, the private jokes. I had always told myself it was harmless, but looking at her across that conference room table, I saw it for what it was. A liability. A loophole she was already trying to establish. I looked at Miss Albright. "That's an excellent question," I said. "Let's define it." For the next hour, we didn't just define infidelity, we dissected it. I insisted on language that was broad, comprehensive, and left no room for interpretation. We went beyond the obvious physical acts. We included clauses about inappropriate emotional or digital correspondence, secret meetings with a romantic interest, and any behavior that would lead a reasonable person to believe a romantic or physical affair is occurring. Lauren was laughing through most of it. "This is insane," she said, as we debated the definition of inappropriate digital correspondence. "You're basically saying, I can't have male friends." "No," I said, my voice firm. "I'm saying you can't have secret emotional relationships with other men. There's a difference. If you don't plan on doing any of these things, then this clause will never affect you. It's just a piece of paper. In the end, she agreed. She signed the prenup, including the detailed, ironclad infidelity clause, with a dramatic flourish of the pen. She treated it like a joke, a silly little game to appease her paranoid, work-obsessed fiancé. As we were leaving, she turned to me and smirked. You know, it's not my fault I'm so flirty. It's just my personality. You can't put that in a contract. I smiled back at her, a calm, reassuring smile. Of course not, I said. I wouldn't want you to change who you are. And I meant it. I wanted her to be exactly who she was, because I had just created a contract that would hold her personality accountable for its actions. She thought she had just signed a silly piece of paper. In reality, she had just handed me the loaded gun that if she ever gave me cause, I would not hesitate to use. We were married for 2 years. And for those 2 years, our life was a constant low-grade test of the boundaries of our agreement. Lauren's personality was not just a quirk. It was her primary mode of interacting with the world. She thrived on the attention of other men, and being married didn't slow her down. It just made the game more exciting for her. At company dinners, she would spend more time talking to my colleagues than to me, her laughter echoing from across the room. At friends' parties, she would always end up in a deep, one-on-one conversation with someone's husband on the patio, her hand resting casually on his arm. Her phone was a minefield of notifications from men I didn't know, which she would dismiss as just old friends or networking contacts. Each time I would talk to her about it, I was never angry. I was calm, direct. I would remind her of our conversation in the lawyer's office. Lauren, I'd say, when you spend an hour in a corner with another man, whispering and laughing, that makes me uncomfortable. And it's dangerously close to the line we drew in our agreement. Her response was always the same, a dramatic eye roll, a sigh of exasperation. Oh my God, Mark, not this again. It's just my personality. I'm a friendly person. Are you going to police who I talk to? You need to stop being so insecure. It's not an attractive quality. She was using the language of therapy to gaslight me. My reasonable requests for respect were framed as insecurity. My desire for her to honor our agreement was framed as control. She was slowly, systematically trying to redefine the terms of our contract through sheer relentless boundary pushing. The problem was, her behavior, while disrespectful, was always just ambiguous enough to be deniable. I never had concrete proof of a physical affair. I just had a mountain of circumstantial evidence and a gut feeling that I was being played for a fool. I knew that if I tried to invoke the infidelity clause based on her flirty behavior alone, it would turn into a messy, he said, she said legal battle. Her lawyers would paint me as a jealous, controlling husband, and her as the innocent victim of my paranoia. I needed something more. I needed something undeniable. I needed something that even her best performance couldn't explain away. So, I decided to give her the perfect opportunity to show me exactly who she was. Our second anniversary was approaching. I told Lauren I wanted to throw a big party at our house, a huge, catered affair to celebrate our life together. She was thrilled. She loved hosting parties. It was the perfect stage for her to be the center of attention. What she didn't know was that this party had a singular purpose. It was not a celebration of our marriage. It was a carefully designed intelligence-gathering operation. A week before the party, I had a new security system installed in our home. I told her it was for our peace of mind, a necessary upgrade. The system included several small, discrete cameras, including one on the back patio, overlooking the garden, and one in the main living room. They were motion-activated and recorded high-definition video and audio directly to a secure cloud server that only I had access to. This wasn't about spying on her day-to-day life. This was about documenting a single high-risk event. The night of the party arrived. Our house was filled with over 100 people, our friends, my business partners, her family. Lauren was in her element, a radiant, sparkling hostess moving through the crowd. And I watched her. I watched her personality in full bloom. She spent almost the entire night attached at the hip to a man named Julian. He was a new friend of hers, a handsome, recently divorced architect she had met through a charity committee. I watched them all night. The lingering touches, the private jokes, the way he would look at her when he thought no one was watching. As the party started to wind down, around midnight, I saw them slip out the back door onto the patio. This was it. I stayed inside, playing the part of the good host, saying goodbye to our guests. My heart was pounding, but my face was a mask of calm. I gave them 20 minutes. Then I made my excuses and went to my home office. I opened my laptop and logged into the security system's live feed. The patio camera was on, the audio was crystal clear, and the scene playing out on my screen was the final, brutal confirmation of everything I had suspected. They were standing by the edge of the garden, hidden from the view of the main house. They thought they were alone. "I can't keep doing this, Julian," Lauren was saying, her voice a low whisper. "He's getting so suspicious, he's always watching me." "He's not watching you now," Julian replied, his voice smooth. He reached out and tucked a piece of her hair behind her ear. "He's a fool, Lauren. A boring, predictable fool. He doesn't deserve you." "I know," she sighed. "It's just the money, the life. It's hard to walk away from." "You won't have to," he said. "You'll get half of everything, half of his company. You'll be set for life. You just have to play the part of the good wife for a little while longer. Then you and I can be together." My blood ran cold. It wasn't just an affair. It was a plan. A long-term strategy to divorce me and take half of my life's work. Her flirty personality wasn't just a character trait. It was a business tactic. Then he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't a friendly peck. It was a long, slow, passionate kiss. The camera captured it all in perfect high-definition clarity. I didn't watch anymore. I didn't need to. I had my evidence. I downloaded the entire 20-minute video file. I saved it to a thumb drive. I saved it to the cloud. I saved it to my work server. I had the undeniable, irrefutable proof I needed. The breach of contract was no longer a matter of opinion. It was a recorded fact. I spent the next 2 days in a state of cold, quiet fury. I played the part of the loving husband. I helped Lauren clean up after the party. I listened to her tell me what a wonderful time she had. She had no idea that I was in possession of a video that was about to detonate her entire world. On Monday morning, I called Miss Albright, my lawyer. "I need to schedule a meeting," I said. "It's about my prenup. I'm invoking the infidelity clause." I then sent an email to Lauren. Subject: urgent financial meeting. "Lauren, Miss Albright's office has requested a meeting with both of us to review our prenuptial agreement and discuss our long-term financial planning. The meeting is scheduled for Wednesday at 10 a.m. Please confirm your attendance." "Mark," she replied almost instantly. "Ugh, how boring. Fine, I'll be there." She thought it was just another dry financial meeting. She had no idea she was being summoned to her own execution. We walked into that same polished conference room where it had all begun. Lauren was relaxed, even a little bored. She was scrolling through her phone. Miss Albright was there, as was Lauren's lawyer, a slick-looking man I had never met. The meeting began. Miss Albright was all business. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "We are here today because my client, Mark, has chosen to file for divorce." Lauren's head snapped up from her phone, her eyes wide with shock. "What? Divorce? What are you talking about, Mark? This is insane." I didn't look at her. I just looked at Miss Albright. "Furthermore," my lawyer continued, her voice like ice, "we are invoking Section 4, Paragraph B of the prenuptial agreement, the infidelity clause." Lauren's lawyer scoffed. "The infidelity clause? On what grounds? Vague accusations of flirting? That won't hold up in court for a second." I finally spoke. "It's not based on accusations," I said calmly. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a small tablet. I placed it in the center of the conference table and hit play. The video of Lauren and Julian on the patio filled the screen. The audio was crisp and clear. The entire room was silent, broken only by the sound of their own voices, plotting to take half of my company. We all watched as they kissed, a long, undeniable act of betrayal. When the video ended, I turned it off. Lauren was as white as a sheet. She looked like she was going to be sick. Her lawyer was staring at the blank screen, his mouth hanging open. He was a man who had just realized his client had lied to him and that his case had just evaporated. "As you can see," Ms. Albright said, her voice sharp and final, "the breach of contract is clear, documented, and irrefutable. As per the agreement your client willingly and enthusiastically signed, she forfeits any and all claims to Mr. Miller's assets, both premarital and marital, as well as any claim to spousal support. We will be filing the divorce papers this afternoon." Lauren finally found her voice. It was a choked, desperate whisper. "It was just my personality," she said, looking at me with pleading eyes. "I'm just a flirty person." I looked at her, this woman who had plotted to ruin me, and I felt nothing but a profound sense of closure. "I know," I said, "and I wouldn't want you to change who you are. But your personality just cost you everything." The divorce was swift and brutal. Lauren's lawyer, faced with the undeniable video evidence, advised her not to fight it. To contest the prenup would have meant the video would become evidence in a public court proceeding, and that was a humiliation she couldn't bear. She signed the papers, walking away from our 2-year marriage with nothing but the clothes on her back and the expensive jewelry I had bought her. She got to keep her personality. I got to keep my company, my home, and my self-respect. The fallout in her personal life was equally devastating. The news of the affair, and more importantly, the cold, calculated plan to take my money, spread like wildfire through our social circle. Her reputation was destroyed. Julian, the architect, was not spared. I made sure a copy of the video found its way to his ex-wife's divorce lawyer. His own settlement suddenly became a lot more expensive. Lauren had to move into a small, rented apartment. Her lavish lifestyle, the one funded by my success, was over. She had to get a real job with real hours. The last I heard, she was still telling people that her only mistake was having a big personality that her insecure husband couldn't handle. Some people never learn. She had used her personality as both a weapon and a shield. She thought her charm and her flirtatiousness made her immune to consequences. She thought she could talk her way out of anything. But she couldn't talk her way out of a high-definition video and an ironclad contract. I learned a valuable lesson from my father's pain. A lesson about protecting what you've built. My prenup wasn't about a lack of love. It was about an abundance of clarity. It was a contract that defined the terms of our partnership. And when she breached those terms in the most profound way possible, the contract did exactly what it was designed to do. It protected me. She thought her personality was her greatest asset. In the end, it was her only liability, and it cost her everything.